My name is Tyler Murphy. I'm from Joliet, Montana. I was a student of Joyce Lee's. I took a workshop from her when I was 15, and then I didn't see her for a couple years, and I went to a critique at her house and saw her again. Joyce was an incredible painter and was a huge inspiration for me to become a full-time painter. She really is one of the best painters I've ever seen. In the workshop I took when I was 15, I was painting a horse, and I had the legs too far out in front on the horse, which is a common mistake. Joyce came over and just rubbed out the legs, and in 2 strokes put them back in, and they're perfect. And I still come across that painting, and I'm blown away by that. Well, I think Joyce was an incredible painter in that she really took her time, and she painted with a lot. She painted with a lot of paint. And that's a hard thing to do, to mix up the right color, the right time, and to put it down and to leave it alone and have it work like that. And that's one of the things I really admire. She was really creative with the color that she put down and creative with the ways that she put paint down. There's just loads of different textures in her paintings, and her compositions are always spot on too. So when I was 20, I called up Joyce after being at her critique and asked if she'd go out sketching with me, and she agreed to, and she set it up to meet at a place in town, and so we were sketching together, and that really meant a lot to me. She was an incredible sketcher, so I learned a lot just in that one sitting. Joyce was a really strong lady. She was smaller, but she was very strong, and I remember one time at a critique a light falling on her head, and it looked like it really hurt, and she carried on and was a good sport about the whole thing. But she was also very caring. I remember talking to her about social issues and her care for the poor, and so she had a heart for people in need of help. When I was in one of her workshops, I just remember in the evenings her showing me a bunch of art books of painters that she really loved. The Canadian Group of 7, she had a book on them, and then she also showed me Walt Gonski's work. And I can see now how those painters influenced her. At the time, I didn't even like those painters, and now I really respect them and love their work. A lot of what I learned from Joyce was how to draw a horse, how to paint a horse, and I mean she was like the best when it comes to horses. And I remember her showing me some proportion things, like that the horse's head is the same size as from the wither down to here, that this mass here from the wither down to the bottom of the belly is the same as from the bottom of the belly down to where the hooves would be, that you can split a horse into 3s from here to here to the end there. Another thing that I learned was she talked about through lines and the flow of a horse, how like this belly line comes up and it flows right into the tail. How like in some, it depends on the angle of the horse, but how like this chest line here. And she talked a lot about getting the power and the mass of a horse in the front, and that chest of a horse is so important because that's what propels them forward. Well, I think Joyce was a master at composition, and she talked about it a lot. And what I remember is that she would talk about the different shapes within a painting and making each shape interesting on its own. So this horse here, just the sheer size of this horse in relationship to this negative space here, and how this negative space is smaller than that negative space. And so you have different size shapes all over the place. This is a real inspiration to see all of this here, because it's a testament to how much thought she put into each painting with the drawings. You know, she's got 2 drawings here and a small finished study painting that she did for this large one. And a lot of painters don't go through the trouble of of putting that much forethought into a painting. Well, I only knew Joyce for a short time, and I really wish that I could have known her for longer. But a lot of times now, as I'm painting, I'm thinking about, okay, if Joyce was here, what would she be saying about my painting? And probably a lot of times what it would be is, you need to use more paint. And she's just a very special lady.
Joyce and I met at a life drawing co-op. I knew who she was through another friend that photographed all of her paintings. We met, and I introduced myself, and I asked her to critique my work. She was, I thought her horses were just spectacular. Her color theory was just incredible. So she invited me to one of her critiques, and that's what she was known for. Asked Charlie Fritz, he called her the chairman of the board, because she organized all these critiques. And then I walked in these critiques, and I realized I stepped into it. And I was like, oh God, there's Charlie Fritz, there's Lauren Entz, you know, there's Bob Barlow. These are artists I knew of, and now I'm having my artwork critiqued by them from this little introduction to this little woman. She then took me out, and we started plein air painting quite a bit together. Not as student and teacher, but as friends. That turned into something else when I was out there scrubbing in a little painting with a number 2 bristle brush. She took all my little brushes away from me and left me one number 12 flat. She says, you should be able to complete that entire painting with this. That's how pretty much it started from then. We go out and paint all that. We would go out and paint every Monday. Go out into the Stillwater, out into Blue Creek, Duck Creek, just a whole bunch of different places, and just paint. Didn't really care that much about subject. But then it got to the point to where our discussions got more involved with, there's a lot of information there. What are you trying to say? So the painting got a little deeper with her. Color, everything. She really lived art. We'd discuss artists that we were inspired by. Frank Tenney Johnson was a big inspiration for her. And then other artists, but she just didn't stay in the Western genre. I mean, there was Joaquin Sorolla, there were Feshin, there was Feshin, there was quite a few artists that she really got her inspiration from and tried new things from. Her color theory she was so innovative. Her color, we all kind of talk about how she was fearless with color. She could put so much color into one painting, and it wasn't garish. It belonged. She was an amazing artist who taught me a lot. She taught me a lot about not only composition, but it was more color theory, light, how much color we're going to have in a painting. You know, it was a pretty incredible time, and it was spent with her. Did take one of her workshops. Actually, took 2 of her workshops. One at the Nicholas Fine Art when it was here, and the other one at was that Norm Schoenthal's Island. She was a very good teacher in that kind of setting. She could really engage herself with all of the students, no matter what skill level, and she can actually elevate them. Those were some special times too, because she was very interested in everybody at the workshop. There wasn't one person that was left out. She wanted to find out what everybody was, their background, everything. She was very selfless in that manner. She wanted to know her students, and she wanted to elevate their artwork, much as she wanted to elevate her own. Seeing her helping us with our problems helped her with figuring out the problems that were going on in her pieces too. I don't know, kind of a, not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. No, the critiques, though, were fabulous. They were always, there was so much information there, and she was one to really keep us on point. A lot of, when an artist actually puts their piece up for a critique, it's, she kept everyone on point of what really needed to be changed. The colors. If everybody else didn't have anything to say, I loved it when she would say, "We're not going to let him get off that easy." One of the biggest things with her was simplification. Not only simplification in her art, but simplification in her life. It was very important. There are quite a few people that would say that same thing, that the simplification of a composition, or simplification of a brushstroke, laying in one brushstroke, but it's going to have like 4 or 5 different colors in it. I mean, all these pieces here at the museum, you can see it in almost every one of them. The amount of color that she used was brave. I mean, I look at the pieces that I paint, and I'm constantly just trying to elevate myself to that. A lot of artists are. In her drawing of horses, she painted what she knew and what she really loved. She wasn't painting for any type of mass sell. She was painting what she loved. And that's what people really connected with. But yeah, when we lost her, I was pretty well devastated. It was a pretty tough time. She was a very special lady.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for all coming out tonight. It's been a long, long-held dream of the Yellowstone County Museum and myself to make this facility a place where it would be incorporated into a place of historical exhibits, plus a place for wonderful fine art. So I feel like at this juncture, we've done that. This was, for those of you that were even here a couple of months ago, this was just kind of an open storage area. So tonight, by the good grace and the cooperation of my board, we've been able to open up this area to now become a place where we can exhibit fine art, which means a great deal. There's so many great artists in this area. So, and also during the course of the summer, we've had been able to do events with the Billings Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Billings Association. So at this time, I want to introduce to you that obviously everybody knows her, but the Executive Director of Downtown Billings, Lisa Harmon.
Yes, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Oh, thank you. I just think I'm just so honored that Chaz invited me up on the stage, and I just feel a little bit out of place, but just so humbled. Thank you. And what a great partner we have in Chaz and the Yellowstone County Museum. You know, Chaz was saying for such a long time, Yellowstone County Museum didn't really feel integrated. Well, I have to tell you that I've been here 3 times in the last month, and I'm just blown away by the museum. And I just am so glad that Chaz especially has just been so pivotal in this relationship. And we've done how many events now? We've done the Nile Parade and Harvest Fest.
That was a big one.
That was a big one, and that was a great one. And we just enjoyed working with the Nile and Yellowstone County Museum. And what a gem this is, just the fine art, the preserving our heritage. It's a gift to the community, and we have to remember that, and that we have to keep those channels of communication open. And you just need to talk about this wonderful gem that is the Yellowstone County Museum. So I know that tonight Chaz is really excited, and I'm just really honored to share the stage with you. And thank you all for supporting the Yellowstone County Museum and for downtown Billings, because this isn't on the West End and it isn't in the Heights. It really is downtown. That's what I consider it to be. So congratulations to you and to your board, Chaz.
Well, thank you so much. For that, I'd like to present to you the new gallery, which is now the Joyce Lee reopening exhibit. So please enjoy it all. Thanks for coming.
Wow.
Thanks for coming.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, I guess so.
You gotta see that. I think there's a video of it downstairs.
Oh, is there? Over the corner. I'm anxious to see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Howie?